Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bowl TV. My name is Matt Canizar. I'm smiling underneath this sweet eagle mask because we are here watching live bowling at Samstown Bowling Center in Las Vegas. It is the 2021 Super Senior Classic. The best bowlers, USBC members age 60 and older, vying for a nice big payday and having an opportunity to bowl a lot of games against some of the best competition around. And we're bringing it all to you live here, wire-to-wire coverage of this great event. Now celebrating nearly 10 years in action, going back to 2013. We had A Squad on the lanes this morning on this fresh 40-foot oil pattern, and now B Squad taking to the burn for 6 games this afternoon. Again, we'll have wire-to-wire coverage from Samstown. I'm not the only one here, though. I'm just the talent, the face of Bowl TV at this moment. But let's introduce my co-host and the man holding all this together, Jason Thomas.
Well, that means we're in a lot of trouble. But we'll get out to the lanes.
Some audio there. In the meantime, let's recap a little bit of the action this morning. It's 6 games from A Squad. Again, 44 oil pattern here at Samstown. We have posted on our social media, but looking at the numbers, Glenn Smith from New York. Cool stuff there. Nice storyline things to talk about and hopefully recap later today. Should he hold on? Maybe even if he doesn't hold on as the overall leader, but he averaged a bunch, nearly 2.7 across 6 games today. He gets a plus 160 to lead the way. And not even a huge finish. Final game. And was able to stay ahead of Ed Silva, who finished 6 games at plus 157. That's maybe Hugh Miller, who's had success here at Samstown. Who's at plus 154. Then a bit of a drop off. Eric Forkel at plus 107. Is in 4th. John Blatchford plus 93. Walter Ray Williams Jr. at plus 63. Tom Baker at plus 59. Tony Rodriguez Jr. plus 58. Paul McCordick 53. And Timothy Myers at plus 49 to round out the top 10. So a nice head start there for Glenn Smith. And as things unfold here across these 6 games today, once we get situated and JT is back in action, we'll talk more about what Glenn had to say about his performance and his time on the PBA 50 Tour here in 2021. This event, the Super Senior Classic, will be followed by the Senior Masters, and that will conclude the PBA 50 Tour schedule for the year. And these events coming off the back end of the Senior U.S. Open. So traditionally, this is a 4-event swing for the players, including a PBA 50 stop in Brentwood, California. This time, the Senior U.S. Open was that stop that came before the Super Senior Classic, and then things will end next week with the Senior Masters. But plenty of time to talk about that, as we counted earlier, and we're looking at hundreds of games over the next 8 or 9 days here from Samstown. So settle in, grab yourself a beverage, and now looking at the time, it might be time for the fun kind of beverages as you enjoy Bowl TV throughout the weekend. This Super Senior Classic will be 12 games of qualifying over 2 days. Again, we saw the A Squad bowlers this morning, B Squad wrapping up here this afternoon, and then they'll flip flop. And B Squad will bowl on the fresh. A Squad will come in the afternoon, after which the 12-game pinfall totals will determine the estimated 40 bowlers. We need to see what the final count is for how many on this squad. But estimated was 40, so 25% of the field headed to the cashers round. And then 18 game pinfall totals will determine the 12 who advance to the unique match play portion of this event. Again, plenty of time to get into the format stuff. Right now, let's talk about bowling. Let's talk about our featured pairs here and Jason Thomas. So we get to talk about a two-handed lefty at this PBA 60 event throughout this squad as well. Ken Fox and some other very familiar names amongst these 70 plus bowlers. So looking forward to watching it all unfold. We've got some past champions on this squad, including our defending champion, Ty Dawson, who you are familiar with from your competitive days in California. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute and give you a chance to weigh in. There's a lot happening. There's a lot that we can touch on. So let's do it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Matt. I had very high hopes that we wouldn't have any audio issues to start this block, but I think we've got that under control. Amleto Monacelli, I said hello to him we had a little, it wasn't really a break. It was just more of not bowling not happening, but ran into him as he came in the building, and I just said, hey, you can't be bowling this event. You're not 60. Huh. And he kind of laughed, and he's like, yeah, believe it. But he's a player, obviously, you would expect to be at the top of the leaderboard. A player also who you would expect to really bomb him on the burn squad, and he's out of the gate quickly with the front four. They didn't seem like they were going to be that great. We kind of watched some of the leaders coming down the stretch at the end of A squad, and they really seemed to struggle. One in particular, Tim Myers, he shot 158 the last game. We watched Ed Silva come down the stretch. He pulled a pretty good game, but opened in the 10th to just misleading. But if anybody understands how to bowl on the burn and put up a big number here today, that would be Amleto Monacelli.
Well, JT, I would say most people would agree that not a whole lot of great things came out of the last year or two in the world. A lot of struggles and a bit of a roller coaster ride for many, but for Amleto, the fact that this event traditionally is held during the first half of June, but because of the shifts in the PBA 50 schedule and some changes within the USBC schedule, the timing worked out for it to be in September, just days after Amleto turned 60. So he was already headed this way as the defending champion at the Senior Masters, which he won for the second time, and of course, in typical dramatic Amleto fashion. And we can talk plenty about that and his run up the stepladder again. But the time shift allowed him to bowl in this event as well, and that's pretty neat. And he's coming off of a trip to Guatemala to coach with Dominican Republic. So he hasn't bowled much, but he got to talking about some of his visualization and some of his exercise and all the things, and to keep him looking far from 60. But in fact, just weeks ago, if not 12 days or so, Amleto turned 60 years old and got his entry in. And of course, under any circumstances, but the fact that he's potentially the youngest and among the two fittest competitors at this event, you have to like his chances too.
Yeah, for sure. And it was funny because I read your preview story, Matt, and all I kept thinking as I'm reading through it, and you hit on it multiple times, is this guy's not practicing. He's not bowling at all. But he keeps himself in such good shape. And, he's obviously one of the greatest bowlers of all time. So he knows how to do it. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. He's started with the front five.
Yeah, I mean, we know he knows how to bowl. It's one of those things that you don't forget necessarily, and it hasn't been that long. But he was around bowling. He was in a bowling center. He was thinking through bowling, and it's something we've talked to Shannon O'Keefe about, even when she's not physically bowling. Just being there with the players, and getting a chance to watch the ball reaction and talk and think through the moves, that helps. And Amleto is he's all about the visualization. So if he can sit down and just close his eyes and think through his pre-shot routine and the ball path and just all the things, sometimes that helps quite a bit. And that's a great strategy. And again, you get out there, you know how to bowl. It's just about execution at that point. But also getting to the facility and seeing what the lanes are going to give you, what the pattern is, and sometimes it's almost better not to over prepare physically and risk injury or being burnt out. And um, as you said, the scoreboards don't lie. So we'll see. This is the burn. We know Amleto can get left and hook it with the best of them. And if there's a need to get the ball to turn the corner, he can make that happen. And who knows? We could see him come by the next game and move 30 boards right and try something different and still get the job done.
Well, that's kind of the first errant shot we've seen out of Amleto here this game. It's a little high. And, they were tough. They were not, you would expect by this time of the day with the traffic that we've had that you'd be able to play third arrow and just kind of send it right and have some swing, as they say, and a little bit of room. But, that one wasn't that far left and loose through the nose, but easy spare for Amleto and still possible 279.
JT, we've been around long enough that there's now some very familiar names in this growing event. I know in the pandemic year, 160 plus entries, a solid turnout. We've been nearly 300 in recent years, and to think that it started back in 2013 with about 28 entries. But among the performers so far, as we mentioned, some of the greats, Eric Forkel, Walter A. Williams Jr., the Hall of Famer Tom Baker as well, Paul McCordick, Pete McCordick, Daryl Bauer. It's just up and down. It's a who's who. And, if they were going to announce the Hall of Famers prior to the start, that would add another 15 minutes to the introductions. And, some, again, bowlers that you and I grew up watching on the PBA Tour. I already got one message today that this is just like watching a live version of ESPN Classic. These competitors and all those old broadcasts, they're now out here doing battle on the 60 plus stage, which is extremely hard to believe because that means that that's not that far off for us. But it's a treat certainly to be here and watch their progression through the PBA Tour and then to the PBA 50 and now to the 60 ranks.
Yeah, and we shouldn't neglect to mention everybody who's on this first featured set of pairs that we've got. Bo Gergen on 9 and 10. He's had a lot of success in the past. Past Eagle winner, record holder at the Open Championships. We've got Jim Murdishaw, who's a PBA champion. I mentioned his name as a player who's part of a trivia question. Who did Pete Weber beat to win his 10th career PBA title, which was the Tournament of Champions? Jim Murdishaw was the tournament leader that week. We've got Ron Gales and Ed Burdenka, who are on 9 and 10 as well, and Richard Greenlaw and Priyong Kunsavath on 7 and 8 with Amleto. So some great talent. And that's just one of the featured pairs that we have here for you on Bull TV this afternoon. We've got lanes 7 through 26. You can pick in 4-lane sets, and a lot of great action to watch all afternoon here on Bull TV.
JT,
yeah,
you're not going to believe this news. Breaking news in Las Vegas.
Ah, what's that?
Well, as you know,
it's raining.
I've spent. Well, it gets even better. I have spent probably 600 days here in the past 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
In the Open Championships, and being at South Point where we park on the roof as employees and it's 117 degrees, and so you want to be inside and watching bowling.
Yeah.
And now here we talked about it earlier, and whatever we said upset the weather gods, and it was raining as it was pointed out. We didn't have visual proof of that, but Damon just came to let me know that there is a severe thunderstorm watch here in Las Vegas, and that Tom, who runs the bowling center here, has brought in a flashlight because that's the situation. So we're the weather and electricity and live streaming and such don't always mix,
No.
but there's a flashlight, so don't fear. We gotta, should things go awry, we're down here and we've got a flashlight, so we're covered. But whatever we said, it's perfect bowling weather. Let's hope it stays just perfect enough that we can continue bowling and not do it under the brilliant glow of a flashlight.
Yeah, well, if the stream does happen to drop, we'll do our best to keep you guys informed as to what's going on. Hopefully that won't be the case. If so, we'll keep you posted. It does take about 20 to 30 minutes to get every channel back up and running again if we were to happen to go offline. So we'll keep you posted as far as any status if that were to happen. But I've got my fingers crossed that we don't. But the flashlight certainly will come in handy.
I feel that in our time we've been through our fair share of wacky things and weather and such, and including even weather on the lane. So we're ready. We're ready for anything.
Weather on the lanes.
We did in my time at the Open Championships in 2006. There was a late night call of a severe downpour over the first 10 lanes. It was pretty wild. Seeing getting the photos, and you do what you have to do, and we got things dried out and ready. I think we missed maybe 2 squads of bowlers had to be moved for those lanes, but the rest of the house went off, no problem, and fixed it up. But it's a wild time, and I'm sure, again, over the years, all the different cities and places and parts of the country that we go to, those storms back in the day, we got this. We've got it covered.
Amleto with a massive messenger bouncing off the wall in front of the 10 pin, not able to knock it out. Possible 258 for him. But you can tell he's really a guy that can get even further left than everybody else and use, because we mentioned a little earlier, maybe the reason the scores were so low, it did seem like on the right side, a lot of players started left of second arrow, which probably didn't, we saw Ed Silva end up almost leading the squad. He was playing right of second arrow, even game 6. So it felt like to me there wasn't a lot of room opening up in that track area. Well, Amleto was able to play even further left of that, where there might actually be some swing to the right. And he's taking full advantage of it right now.
Just in the little bit that we actually do get to watch the ball go down the lane, and we didn't have a chance to talk to anybody about, well, besides Glenn Smith, our overall leader, about the experience and what's out there. Just watching. There's been some 8 pins and 4 pins being shot by the right-handers where it looked like it was online, and then the ball was in the left gutter at 48 feet. We just saw right in front of us a missed head pin just run away. And so curious about what the middle of the lane is like. I think Amleto is somebody who can get left of everybody and then still project the ball to the right and get it to turn the corner, whereas some of the other players, that's not going to happen, so they're going to need to stay further right. But it definitely looks like missing left is not something you want to do, but it's not going to be at Brooklyn. It's going to be maybe taking off the 4 and the 7.
Well, I think the furthest we saw anybody play left on that first squad and have success was Tony Rodriguez, and he was in around, it was game 4. We saw him crossing about third arrow, shot 246 that game. Amleto is crossing fourth arrow right now, and so that's a full arrow left to where Tony was, and obviously he's having success. Yeah, good question from Rick in the chat. Asked about the approaches, whether they're wood or synthetic. They are actually synthetic. So they're part of the same paneling that we see on the lanes. So Amleto with the first hit in the 10th, now looking for a couple more. Can shoot 258. Get a good look here where his ball's crossing. It's crossing right around fourth arrow. It's the forepin to trip out. It's maybe in just a touch. Bo Gergen with a good shot there, fast 8. See how quickly he kind of picks up on what Amleto's doing and gets himself a little bit further left as well. Oh man, he's just got it all. That one was moved a little bit left and comes in a little behind the head pin, shakes him up, messengers out the 10, and Leto's going to put a big number up. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb here, Matt, and say you're going to be having a conversation with Leto in about 2 hours from now.
Well, that's good news because remind me when it's over, we need to talk about another project involving Amleto, and it'll also be a topic of conversation at the Senior Masters. So I might as well get comfortable. We'll save him a seat and get ready to do that. Of course, Glenn Smith put up a solid number, plus 161 on the fresh early today to set the bar. But it was nice to catch up with somebody new and learn a little bit about one of our relatively new players out here. But always love the chance to sit down and talk to our Hall of Famers as well. So I feel like it's a win-win for me and for us and for the bowling fans.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Glenn bowl tomorrow. He'll get a chance to compete on this burn squad. But looking up and down the house, Matt, not a lot of high scores. I really feel like A squad started a little bit further left in general, and it seemed like the scores were shot by players that were playing further to the right, on the right side, and obviously on the left side playing out as well. But it feels like that option's kind of gone away. I mean, we saw Tim Myers really struggle coming down the stretch trying to play way out. The holds has basically gone away if you're going to try to play to the right. And it really wasn't all that great in the first place. I mean, when Walter Ray Williams, is hovering around even for 4 games trying to play out, they're not that easy from out. So it feels like what Amleto's doing is the right thing, but the problem is there aren't a lot of players in the field that can do what Amleto does, unfortunately. we used to have the saying, in the days of Tommy Jones starting to dominate on the tour, whoever gets left first wins. And Amleto's already doing that right now. On the PBA tour, everybody basically has that amount of power now. It's just kind of a prerequisite to being able to compete out there. But out here against the players who are 60 and older, what Amleto does is a pretty unique thing. Just a reminder that when this game ends, we will be leaving you guys on Facebook, and we'll move over exclusively to WorldTV.com. So if you don't have your subscription, head over there and pick up your subscription. You can do a monthly, an annual, or an event pass, which we have available event ticket for this event, the Super Senior Classic. A lot of great events coming up after this. As Matt mentioned, immediately following this event, we've got the USBC Senior Masters, which is always one of the most exciting events that we cover here on Bull TV each year. And then coming up later in October, we've got the PWBA Fall Classic. You're not going to want to miss that. That's going to determine our Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year. Those races both coming down to the wire. There's still at least maybe even 10 players that have a legitimate chance at Player of the Year with the Fall Classic yet to go. That'll culminate the PWBA Tour season. It's been an amazing season. With the Tour Championship, once again, that was recently announced that the Tour Championship will be back to close out the season with a $50,000 top prize for the winner. And that event will appear on CBS Sports Network as well. So my guess is, Bo's been hovering around the nose here. He's going to jump left a little bit. And John Burkett in the chat, mentioning that it's pretty tough for everybody but Amleto. And Bo is great at playing up the lane. It looks like he's got to throw it perfect right now. I think he's exactly right. And I think at some point, probably I would say in the 10th, when he's got a fill ball to throw, he's going to get a look at the lanes from a little bit further to the left. But you gotta go with what you're comfortable with physically. I mean, you can't play someone else's game. But my guess is, he's going to get a look at maybe a little bit different piece of equipment to get the ball through the front part of the lane a little bit cleaner. Another good shot there. Leaves a forfeit. Well, Bo got a little look at something on the fill ball there. It looked pretty good. John, I assume you're watching to get a little bit of a scoop on what's going to happen next week. We know John's name is on the roster for the Senior Masters coming up here next week. So I look forward to seeing John out here for that. And we do see John all the time locally. He practices at the ICRC quite often, and he's had a pretty good year on the PA 50 tour. All right, folks, that's going to do it for game number 1 here, and we're going to drop off on Facebook. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. Appreciate you guys tuning in. But if you'd like to watch more, be sure to join us over on BowlTV.com. Get your subscription. I mentioned, again, event ticket, annual or monthly. We also have some giveaways that we'll be doing all this week and next, including one later today. So if you want to have a chance to win a prize, be sure to get your Bowl TV